Hey guys, welcome back to ManyMotion, and here is test 2 of the IPI test for the 4 PlayStation Eyes, and this is calibration. Now, to quickly go over what calibration is for people that may not have used the PlayStation Eye setup before, basically this is the method of the cameras finding out exactly where they sit in your capture space, and things like where the ground plane is, where the floor is, so it knows to not clip through that, and basically know exactly where you stand in 3D space. And the way that we do this is by calibrating. Now, I go for the recommended method of using a mag light in candle mode, but essentially what you're trying to do is create a bright spot on each of these cameras at any one given time. So if I hold a mag light above my head, the 4 cameras will be able to detect exactly where that bright spot on the cameras is landing in 3D space relative to where the cameras actually sit. So if I walk closer towards one camera, it will detect in 3 of the cameras that I'm getting further away, but in one camera it will detect that I'm getting closer. After, with different calibration methods and whatnot, what you're attempting to do is create a area of which the cameras recognize. This is more in your sweet spot, but where the cameras recognize the 3D space that you're attempting to be working with, and therefore it's able to better, track positioning and place bones and stuff like that, because it's got a better representation of, say, if you move your hand closer towards the camera, it's got a better representation of that now, because you've kind of done those motions with a mag light. This test is going to be looking at the best method of calibration. We're going to be calibrating with and without occlusion. Now, with and without occlusion, by this I mean that when you're waving a mag light around, you've got to try and keep it in as many cameras as possible so it's able to better position it in 3D space. Now, with 4 cameras, there are going to be points where you may have your back turned to a camera, so you're going to be that camera's not going to be able to see the mag light. So we're going to be looking at whether that really plays a big role. It obviously will play a role, but how big of a role will it play? The most accurate camera detection, so based on the methods that we're going to be doing, which one gives us the closest centimeter that we can squeeze out of it. And more ground points, better calibration. So I'm going to be running 4 and 8 ground points, and I'm going to be stopping the video at certain points in order to create that data. So I'll do the first 4 ground points, and then after that, I'll stop the video there, and then after that, I'll do another 4 ground points and then add those in and see if there is any significant difference. So let's look at the setups that we're going to be using. So method 1 is one that is found on the IPI wiki, and that's the first image you can see at the top left there. The video that I've seen, which thankfully the lovely gentleman who made it has said that I can link in the description and reference, is a video done by someone on the IPI forums who is very knowledgeable in what he does, called Greenlaw. Now, if you check in the description, his video will be there, and he shows a much better example that I could show you of the cage method in the space that he's given. At least my space compared to Greenlaw's looks a lot bigger, so we're going to be looking at how that comes into play. But Greenlaw's results have always been good in the stuff that he's done, so look below in the description now, or I might leave an annotation for Greenlaw's video. It's really clean, really sleek. There's no occlusion, as you can see, so every single point in those 2 top images are green, and when it is green, it is when every single camera can see the mag light. As you can see in Greenlaw's example in the top right there, he's just got solid green the entire time, so you know that he's got a good calibration out of it. But yeah, check out Greenlaw's video definitely if you're working with something which is less than a ridiculously sized space that I've got. Method 2 is one that I've been doing for forever until last week, basically, until I saw, until I actually went into looking into the cage method and Greenlaw's method. I called it the Go Crazy method, and basically, essentially what it is I do a spiral from the top, kind of what you can see in Greenlaw's image in the top right. If you look at the spiral going down into the middle, I basically attempt to do something like that. And then after that, I do something which I call washing the windows. Now, I find all my floor points as to where my middle sweet spot is, but then what I do is I walk from the middle to basically one of the walls that I've set up between 2 points, and then I scrub down the window. And then I go onto the other side and scrub down the window on the other side. Essentially, by doing that, I'm kind of getting all 4 sides of my capture space scrubbed, as well as doing a spiral in the middle. So we're going to have a look at how that works. As I say, it's very messy. There is a lot of occlusion in the method that in the method that I've used before, and we're going to be doing 4 to 8 ground points. So method 1, go and have a look at that now. So here it is. Here is the cage method. And you'll notice that there are 8 points on the floor as opposed to 4. This is because I realized when I was cleaning all this stuff up that 4 points and 8 points, there really isn't any difference. With 4 points and 8 points, it didn't change anything really. So for the purpose of this test, just know that there is no real difference between 4 and 8 points, at least in the environment that I did it in. So I decided to take all 8 points because, you know, more is better than less, I guess. And I said in a previous video that if you do have one of them occluded and you only did 4 points, then you've lost one of your points, and you've only got 3, and you need 4 to get a ground plane. So let's just have a quick run through of the video anyway. So start the video here. Get the floor point. Now, there was some loss there in some camera, not entirely sure where, but I mounted my mag light on a meter ruler stick, and I attempted to stay as far out of the shot as possible at all times, and trying to keep as much of it green as possible. Now, the actual cage part, I don't think came out too bad. There's a bit of dark green back here. I don't think the cage itself came out too bad. The middle area, with the kind of spirals that went on, there was a bit of occlusion, and that is only because the mag light had to be pointed in a direction away from one of the cameras to do it, which you'll see in a second. Like every now and again, the mag light kind of like goes out of shot for a second. I've already thought of one way I could tackle this, and that would be to, instead of mounting the mag light straight head on, mount it upright. So whatever I'm doing, the mag light is kind of in an L shape at the end of the stick. So I can point it in whatever direction I want, but there will be no occlusion from the actual stick itself or the direction that I'm attempting to point it. So I'm coming up to the end of the cage here. And you can see in little sections like that, it's done a really good job of finding it. And then we come to me attempting to do a spiral in the middle here. Oh. Something might have gone wrong with it there, but... Now you can see there, I'm pointing away from the camera here, camera number 1, and it's automatically just kind of jumping to the light. But thankfully, in the other 3 cameras, it's always visible. So, you know, IPI knows that, alright, in 3 cameras we've got this really bright dot, but in one of them we haven't. Let's go for the majority vote here, and let's go to the trajectory that it should be going on. Start coming around here. And then to the floor. Now, originally, that was going to be it. That was going to be the end of my test, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to do one from the other side. So I decided to do 2 spirals going down, thinking to myself that, you know, the cameras 3 and 4 before, no, 3 and 2, sorry, before were getting the full kind of blunt front of the mag light. So now we've got cameras 1 and 4 that are getting the full front of the mag light. Circular motions. It's also worth noting as well that this is the second time I've done this video, as last week I had all my calibration data done for the previous set of rules I was going to do, but then seeing this method, I really wanted to try it out, and I thought it would be, you know, it would be a less biased thing if I did multiple methods as opposed to just doing times. So, but yeah, anyway, so that's kind of the recommended IPyWiki Greenlaw's method, as I'm calling it, of calibration. So let's go back into the presentation and see how everything lined up. You can see with method 1 here, and we look at the recorded heights and the IPy heights, very, very close. 2 centimeters out on the first one, which could even have been a recording error on my part, a measurement error. 1.47 meter on 2, that is spot on to what I recorded it as. 1 centimeter out on camera 3, 2 out on 4. It is ridiculously close and ridiculously accurate to what it is. So, method number 1, the cage example, Greenlaw's method. That, yeah, it's looking great at the moment. So, let's go and have a look at method number 2, which is the go crazy method, and see how that actually fares. So here we are, we're about to start the crazy method, and I'll try and run through exactly what I do. So, I'm doing a spiral here at the top, and it's worth to note that, you know, if ever you're in a situation where you're going to have occlusion, kind of like, I'll try and get some occlusion now, kind of like what happens there, you've got to kind of work with what you've got, and you've got to try and get the best results that you can. So yeah, I'm trying to do a spiral here as much as I can, trying to keep it in as many views as possible. Heavy occlusion going on certain cameras. There's always occlusion going on. And you can tell by the dots as well that this is definitely a more messy method. So there's like a middle ground point I did. And then I came up to one side here, and I just washed the windows from that side. You know, which is hardly viewable in... It's viewable in 1 and 4 at all times. It gets occasional footage in 2 and 3. So then, after I've done it on one side, I do it on the other. Now, the best way to visualize this is to imagine that I put down 4 ground points on the floor, making a square. And that, in the middle of that square, is my sweet spot. And I'm basically going, you can actually see here, there's one of my floor points there, like the little black thing. So if you imagine a square coming along here, I'm basically wiping the windows from the inside and then going outside and wiping them from the outside. I think I spent around about 15 seconds on each side, maybe. Go to the other side, go from the inside, yep. There's a lot more yellow that you can see here as well. Not a lot of red. There is a lot of dark green here, but there is not a lot of red. So I think we're coming up to... Oh no, we've got the back one to do now, so... I'm not sure what the rest of this video actually is. I'm quite curious. So we come on to the other side. Oh, it's my ground points, yes, sorry. Wash the windows. And then we come to do the ground points. We've got one there. Now it was especially doing this by myself would have been especially difficult, but I had a friend helping me, and I was constantly asking him every single time I did these ground points, can you see it in every camera? And it's always important to make sure that your ground points are visible in at least 3 cameras, preferably all 4 if you're using 4. It's that which is going to get you a better calibration. There's another one. There's me looking at the camera. Coming up to the end now. And there we go. Look now at how that calibration measured up regarding the heights of the cameras. So, method number 2, the go crazy method. We are 2 centimeters out on the first one there. That's the same as the first method. 2 centimeters out on 2. I think we were spot on that one. 1 centimeter out on 3 again, and centimeters out on the last one on camera 4. Minimal amounts to be out on, but you want to get the best method possible. So, a bit of an evaluation now to talk about which I think is the best method of calibration to use.
So to evaluate the data that we've just looked at, you can kind of see that there's no real big difference between the two. It's more about the resources that you've got available to you as well as the space that you're working with. If I had to pick one, which I'm probably going to consistently now use, it would be the cage method. Entirely because it's not because of those couple of centimeters that it was able to pick up. It's just the fact that I feel like I could push that a little bit further in order to get a better calibration. Understandably, you can't really get better than spot on, but with the cage method, especially with me having the mag light on the end of a stick, I'm thinking if I kind of put that on a microphone stand or something, and instead of pointing it outwards and then doing this, if I had it pointing upwards and doing this, then there would be no occlusion at that point. So yeah, I mean, if you don't really have the means to be able to extend the mag light away from you, then the window washing method that I did it worked fine. You could see from the videos that the cleanup and everything, well, not the cleanup, but the tracking and everything was perfectly fine. So I don't know, I mean, I was expecting more of a varying result with this, to be honest, but it seems that as long as you have enough points and as long as you get your ground points in there, then calibration will pretty much be fine. You've just got to remember a few things like doing that spiral is quite a big thing because that's going to be like your main area of capture. And hitting those ground points is a really big thing as well. I mean, I think I've stated it just, but I always hit 8 ground points because if you've accidentally occluded any of them, then you've got other ground points to go to. So just say you did think, oh, I only need 4, and you occlude 1, and that gives you 3, and you need 4 for a ground plane. So you're kind of dead in the water at that point. So yeah, I mean, just do whatever is best for you. What was best for me was both of them. Both of them gave me a great result. I think I'm going to go with the cage method from now on, though. I'm going to try and refine that whenever I go to do captures and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed watching this. I hope this has been somewhat helpful to you if you're trying to calibrate your PlayStation eyes for IpiSoft. And yeah, if you've got any questions or anything, just leave them in the comments below, and I'll try and answer them. So, till next time, guys. See you later.